Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to be talking about Agentic AIs, MCPs, and APIs. And we're going to use a fun little example to walk through how this is done. So let's pretend you and we decide we want to plan a trip to visit Mount Everest and climb it. In order to do this, there's a lot that goes into it. We have to book airplane tickets, we have to look into Sherpas, maybe we need oxygen tanks, we got to look into the weather. There's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be done. But imagine, what if you were able to tell what we're going to call an agentic AI, and you could submit a request saying, help me plan a trip to Mount Everest, and it can do everything for you. Well, the fact of the matter is, with some of the more advanced agentic AIs nowadays, that is possible. While that is extremely amazing, which is why we're going to walk through the workflow of how this happens, by walking through the workflow, we also want to show why it is such a potentially dangerous space. So without further ado, let's start planning our trip. The first step of this process is the user. That's people like you or me. We're the ones who came up with the idea that we want to visit Mount Everest. So how do we go about this? Well, we'll end up using an app, essentially, because the app is technically divided into two sections. We have the web app, which can be something such as a web browser, meaning that could be somewhere where we put in our request. So we go into the web app and we say, we would like to plan a trip to Mount Everest. And then after we put in that request, the web server is going to take that request and it's going to transform it into something called a chat completion. A chat completion, put simply, is simply a type of API call. And it is specific in that it is an API call that goes to AIs. Now that we've talked about chat completion, let's go back to our Mount Everest example. Now it's going to reach the AI. The AI has this information, knowing that it needs to plan a trip to Mount Everest, but it doesn't have that information natively. It needs to reach out. At this point, I'm going to take a quick pause and we're going to break down what do we mean when we say AI. AI, we're going to break down into two components as well. There is the LLM app and there is the LLM. LLM stands for Large Language Model. Very simply, you have an input and it spits out an output. Specifically, it does it for language. A very easy example I like to give is if I write the sentence, I love blank, an LLM could spit out the word food or you or something else. An LLM is a brain that has gone through education, and the education comes from training data. An LLM app is a student that is using that brain to perform various tasks. And an LLM app can do different things with the same LLM depending on what type of app level data it has going on for it. Another thing I want to note here briefly, this will be important towards the end of the Lightboard session, is the flow of traffic technically goes from LLM app to the LLM and then goes back to the LLM app. Now let's go back to the Mount Everest example. We talked about how the AI has now received the chat completion. It knows its job is to plan a Mount Everest trip. It can't do it by itself natively. It doesn't have access to the right resources. As an example, this AI, in order to do this process, it needs to be able to know, how can I search and compare Sherpas? How can I search and compare flights? I was about to say hotels, but I don't think we need hotels for a Mount Everest trip. In order to do that, it needs to make external connections. To make an external connection, that's going to be an API. So back in the day, what we used to do was the AI, from an AI to the API server, we would write a static explicit rule, which made the connection. And we'd have multiple of these. There was a big issue with all this, which is if anything changed, such as if maybe the phrasing that the AI model is using changed slightly, this connection is not going to work anymore. If the endpoint URL changes slightly, this call is not going to work anymore. And for an agentic AI, it's going to have so many of these API connections because there's so many tasks it needs to do. Even in our Mount Everest example, think about all the things an AI has to do in order to plan that trip successfully for us. Because we notice this is a problem, essentially what is needed is we need something in the middle that can help translate the things that AI is needing when it's making calls to APIs. And that is what we call the MCP. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. Just giving you the name, it isn't the most important thing, which is why I'm not going to write it out. But what is important is MCP, similar to everything else, is also technically split into two sections. There is the MCP client, and there is the MCP server. The server-client relationship aspect of it is a pretty standard one, but what is important is with the MCP server, it has a little tool bag. That's the best way I can describe it. And these MCP tools, that's the really powerful component. And I'm going to go through two types of tools just as an example that will help with this Mount Everest example. The first one we're going to cover is this idea of something called a search and compare tool. A search and compare tool, all we have to do is we have to define a set of objects that it can search and compare. So for example, we can define it as you are allowed to search and compare restaurants. You are allowed to search and compare Sherpas. You are allowed to search and compare planes, just as a couple of examples, right? Then literally what this MCP tool is going to be able to do is it allows the AI to search and compare all these things. And it's allowed to make the API connections necessary to get this task done. Where this can get a little more complicated though, is let's pretend we have a tool that is maybe just book, right? We want to book something. If we want to book something, that becomes a little more dependent on what the APIs look like. I'll give this example. Let's pretend we have Taka Airlines and we also have Gary Airlines. And if you wanted to make an MCP tool that allows you to book tickets from Taka Airlines and Gary Airlines, that would only be possible if the API format of both Taka Airlines and Gary Airlines is pretty similar. If it's different, then you're going to need to have a different MCP tool in order to connect to these different websites. And it's pretty simple if we think about it from a human comparison. When we're going through different websites to check out, it's usually a different process. Even if it's a minor difference, it's still a slightly different process. So back to this one, we're talking about Taka Airlines and Gary Airlines. There is actually someone out there who helps streamline this process. And most of you probably know it. It is Expedia. Because Expedia has a whole bunch of airlines, right? If all the airlines are under Expedia, then all you need to have is one MCP tool that connects to Expedia, and then you will suddenly be able to book all the airlines that are under Expedia. My point in going through all this for MCP is to kind of describe how powerful of a tool it can be, and why if you have this universal translator, you no longer need to have these explicit static rules that are connecting to the API server. Now, the final thing, it's going to be slightly a quiz, is I want to ask, when you're going from the MCP server and you have this tool that makes this API call, what if we're making the API call to an AI of sorts? Then what type of API is it? And if you've been paying attention so far, you will know that if this was an AI, then what this API call will be called is a chat completion, which we talked about earlier. This kind of takes us to the end of this graphic, and I want to close off by making a couple comments about security. The first comment about security, about why it can be so difficult here. Most of you probably know about bot protection, right? Bot protection, its goal is to figure out, is it automated traffic or is it legitimate traffic? As an example, if I, as a human being, when I'm going through Amazon.com to buy something, I'm going to be pretty careful with how I fill out the forms and how I do the checkout process. If it is a bot going through this process, as an example, it might be able to skip to the end almost instantaneously because a bot can do things a lot faster. So bot protection will be like, hey, this thing is not behaving like a human, and it will flag it. Some bot protection solutions might straight up block it because it behaves like a bot. Well, if we have a powerful agentic AI that is able to do these things automatically for us, that in itself is always going to look like a bot. So our protection solutions need to be able to differentiate a bot that is behaving well versus it's behaving poorly. So now let's go a little bit into how can we help this in this case. Well, thankfully, one of the key components for an AI to be able to utilize MCP, ultimately, it's still a type of API call that is happening. And for one of our solutions, ThreatX, it does have an API component. So, as an example, over here, it transforms into a chat completion before it goes to the AI, right? Therefore, ThreatX could sit here because ThreatX would be able to see the type of connections that are being made. That means there's one other place where ThreatX could also theoretically sit, and it would be the other location of the chat completion because it's able to see this type of API call. Specifically to the A10 portfolio, we also have an AI firewall, and I want to show how it can be deployed here as well. Over here, we have a chat completion. That is a type of API call. When ThreatX recognizes that it is a chat completion, it will say, hey, AI firewall, you should also be looking at this. And this logically makes sense because as we established earlier, chat completion is an API call for AIs. Therefore, if ThreatX sees an API for AIs, then it logically makes sense that the AI firewall should try to look into what exactly is being done here. Then to go into this graphic that we talked about, it might be important towards the end of the Lightboard session. We're going to talk quickly about the AI firewall because it's actually deployed twice. It's technically deployed before, and it's also deployed after. The reason being, when the request is brought over, we need to make sure that this request is something that is allowed. If the request is asking, hey, can you teach me how to commit murder and get away with it? Then the AI firewall is going to block that. It's going to say, we can't even look at this input. But what if someone is very smart and they find a way to coerce this LLM app to take their input, even though their input is going to result in an output that teaches you how to commit murder and get away with it? That's why the AI firewall will also be deployed here to check the output that comes out from the AI process. The final thing I'd like to talk about is this interesting comparison. I'm going to call it AI firewall is to something as WAF is to something. And these are going to be filled in with WAF is to next-gen firewall as AI firewall is to, we're going to call it APIs. I'm going to draw a neat little picture down here that will kind of help explain it. Back in the day, when people were trying to understand, if we have a next-gen firewall, why do we need to have a web application firewall? Here's my example. If we imagine packets of data coming in as an envelope, the next-gen firewall can look into context. For example, it can tell where did it come from, who is it going to, maybe you learn something based on the type of stamps that are on this envelope, the size of the envelope, the weight of the envelope. The point is the next-gen firewall gets a lot of context clues into what this envelope could be doing, and maybe the amount of envelopes that have been delivered. The WAF, though, it can actually open the envelope and look inside it to, ooh, that looks like a house, can actually look inside it to figure out the contents. This is also important, right? Because if the envelope looks like it's normal, that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't malicious information inside. It's pretty similar for the AI firewall versus APIs. Because as we talked about earlier, chat completion is being used when trying to communicate with AIs, right? So if you are able to have a good API solution that can look into all these connections that's being made, you can kind of see what this agentic AI is trying to do through its connections. But you might not be able to look specifically into the details of what it's asking for. And that is where AI firewall comes in. Well, I hope this session was helpful in explaining how MCPs, agentic AIs, and APIs work because they are all connected and it's a very vast defense space.